again. I would like to also recognize some of our traditional rulers here present. First of all, I would like to recognize the paramount ruler of Ovum community in Atisa Kingdom. I'd like us to put our hands together for His Royal Highness, Chief Izidevie Deme. Please let's put our hands together for him. You are welcome. We also like to specially recognize the paramount ruler of Puluipia community, His Royal Highness, Chief Enia Moniman Nengibo. Please let's put our hands together for him. Also to be recognized is His Royal Highness, Estate Surveyor Isia Albert Omovie Ibe Epie. Please let's put our hands together for him. You are welcome to but we need to start up this event, and we would get to that point of doing other recognitions. So without wasting time, I would like to quickly call on one of yours to do the opening prayer. I would like to invite a retired permanent secretary, Estate Surveyor Aiba Tonye Ade, to step forward for the opening prayer while we all rise for the opening prayer. Please, may we all be upstanding as we take the opening prayer.
Let us pray. Our Lord and our God, we just want to glorify your name, just want to thank you, want to bless you, want to praise you, because you've helped us to see yet a beautiful day. Thank you because it's by your grace that we are here this morning. Lord in heaven, we want to commit this gathering into your hand because there is assurance in your word that whatsoever is committed into your hand is safe and secure. Lord, we want to discuss the sustainability of housing here in Bayelsa State, the provision of it. Let it be that all that we are going to discuss here will not just be discussions, but there will be a point of things to implement, because that is where the result we desire. I pray, oh Lord, that everything should be done to your glory. At the end of the day, your name be glorified in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please, let's put our hands together for her as we take our seats. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to know that your theme for that amount. They said apart from the rent being 600, you had the agency fee, you had the legal fee, you had the landlord's drink also included there, and some other some other things that made up the 1.1 million naira. So, and I said, is that how the drink also added to rent? So it's something that needs to be discussed, and I want to thank the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors for bringing this issue to the fore, and we hope that that part where we're talking about legislation, the state would look at it and domesticate it in the state. Please, let's put our hands together for ourselves again. Well, to start off this event officially, the welcome address, I would like to invite the host, who is the branch chairman for this institution. I'd like us to put our hands together for Estate Surveyor Right Honorable Remy Hassan, PhD, FNIVS, FCIARB RSV, branch chairman of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, Bayelsa State chapter. Please, let's put our hands together for him again.
Thank you very much, beloved MC, for the opening pep talk. My speech is already captured on page 11 and 12 of the program. So I will not belabor you to read, because you can always read. But I'll make a few remarks and then do a few acknowledgements, and then set the tone for this business session that we all have come for. The essence of a mandatory continuing professional development is to remind us that what we did in the four walls of classroom is not sufficient to solve the problem of society. Problems will always keep evolving, and we must also evolve, create solutions that are sustainable. Mr. Chairman of Session, our esteemed National MCPD Committee Chairman, who had arrived in Agua since yesterday because he holds this branch in high esteem and takes his assignment very seriously. Our Honorable Commissioner for Works, Infrastructure, in Bayelsa State, Estate Surveyor and Valuer, Moses Taiboy, who has been of immense support to the branch. And of course, because infrastructure is part of what determines whether housing is affordable, not. He's also here. We recognize and acknowledge your presence, sir. Can we put our hands together for him? Our representatives of both the Commissioner for Lands and Survey and the Executive Chairman of the Physical Planning and Development Board, you're very much welcome, and we appreciate your coming. Thank you. The royal representation we have here today is mixed. Much of the urban housing problem that we have is concentrated in the urban areas. That's why we specially looked into bringing in some traditional institutions representatives, so that at their level too, as stakeholders, certain information can be available to them to help in mitigating the challenge that housing is bringing towards every one of us. So the paramount ruler of Ovom community and that of Opolo, you're most welcome, sirs. Thank you, sir. Please, let's appreciate their presence. They arrived very early. Some of us came late. These fathers have shown the way that there is nothing called African time. It's an insult on our black race that shouldn't be allowed to be entrenched any further. The other leg of the traditional institution representation is one of our own, who happens to be the vice chairman of the branch, the Omoviebe of the PA Kingdom. Let's welcome Estate Surveyor and Valuer, Isia Maurice Albert. You're most welcome, sir. My fellow member of council, Rivers and Bayelsa are Siamese twins. And there's been no time we had this MCPD that Rivers has not been represented. Last year, it was Gary Putu. I called him last night. He said he was in UK for summer. Little did I know that another Rivers will nicodemously show up. And that's why we have a member of council with us, Estate Surveyor Valua, Monday Ahiwe, fellow NIVS, a member of council. You're most welcome. Our representatives of the professional bodies in the built environment, NITP, NIQS, NSC, NIA, and in fact, the Nigerian Institution of Surveyors. All of you are here, others are on their way. We acknowledge your presence, and we believe that your presence will add value to what we are doing here. Housing is a value chain. Let me not forget members of the Association of Real Estate Consultants in Bayelsa, led by their chairman, Sam Eres. Where are you in the hall? Thank you, sir. When the MC was talking about total package, we are colleagues in that matter. When you hear total package, it means that something will be added to something and added to something before disbursement is made to the landlord. Like I was saying, housing is a value chain, and every one of us has a stake in ensuring that that value chain is optimized to the benefit of everyone. Believe it or not, it is not just a need, it is a guaranteed right, both under our Constitution, Section 38, 39, and 40 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and of course the UN Human Rights Charter also says it. Well, how do we balance the right nature of housing and the affordability that the reality that faces us expresses? That's the reason why we have come here today to look at our peculiarity in Bayelsa. And I have no doubt that the eminent resource persons that God has helped us to put together will do justice to this matter. Professor Nubi Timothy of the University of Lagos is a global icon in housing matters. Believe it or not, this man, as at last week, was in Dubai for another conference on this same housing. Yesterday, he was in Lagos for another conference for this same housing matter. And as at 4 a.m. this morning, he was already on his way to the airport to come down to Port Harcourt en route Bayelsa. It tells you of how passionate he is to the matters of housing, and he's here with us this morning live. I thought we'll put our hands together. Some of us who love to study have read what he put together. And believe it or not, this is a blueprint for Bayelsa State. And we will do our best. We're expecting the representative of the deputy governor to come in any moment from now. We will submit this as a very strong communique for the state government to use in addressing the housing problem in Bayelsa. And of course, our own estate surveyor and valuer, Godwin Konyefa, who will look at the legislative dimension to addressing the housing matter, haven't just freshly come out of law school. You can tell that he will put it to us. Lawyers are always prompting that slogan, I put it to you. So please today, put it to us, the solution to this problem. I will be more than glad to receive all of what you will say. On that note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed members of the branch, members of the MCPD Planning Committee, members of the Fourth Estate of the REM, our rapporteurs, and everyone who has a hand in putting this together, permit me to say to every one of you, you are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, one more time, let's put our hands together for the branch chairman, Estate Surveyor Right Honorable Remy Hassan, for that wonderful welcome. I would want to use this opportunity to recognize one man that I respect a lot. The reason is we talk about His Excellency all the time, about how he is developing our state. For those that are Bayelsans, we know that His Excellency, the distinguished Senator Doediri, is transforming the landscape of our dear state. Our communities are being connected by roads, and recently we have been enjoying 24 hours power supply. For me, I'm enjoying. I don't know where you stay in town. I don't know where you stay in town, but for me, for the past 2 months, I have not bought fuel. So I will only be a hypocrite to come in front of you and come and tell you that I'm enjoying life, then I go home and buy fuel. That means I am just deceiving myself. I am enjoying 24 hours power supply. I don't know about you, but there is a man that is ensuring that most of these infrastructures are, brought to life. When His Excellency gives the approval and gives the instruction, this is the man that goes out to the field to ensure that those things are being carried out. I'd like us to put our hands together for one of yours, who is the Honorable Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, Bayelsa State, Estate Surveyor Moses Hebaway. Please, let's put our hands together for him. You're welcome, sir. We also have the chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, Bayelsa State chapter, Quantity Surveyor Amangala Mabel Ozi FNIQS, who is represented by Quantity Surveyor Adeshino Fatuanshe MNIQS, and the Secretary Professional Development and Library NIQS Bayelsa State chapter. Please, let's put our hands together for the Quantity Surveyor. You are welcome. Yes, our branch chairman has gone ahead of me to recognize our lead speakers. I was thinking I wanted to do a very special recognition for them, but possibly I would reserve that when we get to the citation for you to meet them properly. But I would like to still welcome Estate Surveyor Professor Timothy Benga Nubi. Please, let's put our hands together for him. He's our lead speaker for the day. And also, our other speaker, who is also part of us, and he said that he's going to put it to us today. He is an estate surveyor, but decided that he should go and look at the legal side also of this profession. Be speaking to us today. And, it's also good to mention some of the people that would ensure that all these things that we are going to say here today will be documented and given as a report. I'm talking about our rapporteurs. Please, let's put our hands together for Estate Surveyor R. Johnny Inipami Prince. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Estate Surveyor Sam Iyakrea, please let's put our hands together for him. And also Estate Surveyor Ukwene Naruarua, please let's put our hands together for her. And I would not fail to recognize Estate Surveyor Kessie Frank Oputu, who is the chairman of this session. Please let's put the chairman of the MCPD Bayelsa State chapter. Please let's put our hands together for him. You are welcome. I'm just seeing the representative of His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Honorable Pastor Peter Perotubo Akpe, PhD. And he had to send no other person than my father and my boss, my principal, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Deputy Governor's Office, Comrade Gowon Torioye. Please, let's put our hands together for him. You are welcome, Your Excellency, to this event. Having mentioned that, I would like to move on to the opening speech, which will be delivered by the chairman of the session, Estate Surveyor Sir Charles O. ABI, FNIVS, RSV, RWA, chairman of today's session, and also the National MCPD Committee, NIESV. Please, one more time, let's put our hands together for Estate Surveyor Sir Charles O. ABI for the opening speech. Please, we could do that as he comes forward. Encourage him with a round of applause as he comes forward to speak to us.
Clap for me now. Speak to us about housing. Many years ago, people did not believe. When we were talking about housing, Professor Nubi was able to say to Maboguje, is it Maboguje? Mabonguje and our own colleague, Fortune Ebie. He said, I was in school. I was in school in 1984. All protocol observed. The chairman of Bayelsa branch, distinguished resource persons and speakers for today. Our respected professionals in the real estate sector, thank you for coming. I want to take my time to say that you are all welcome. It's a distinguished honor to find myself in Bayelsa once again. And I thank you for coming. This today we are talking is indeed, and I know that we are all going to enjoy it. Stay blessed and welcome. Thank you.
Please, one more time, let's put our hands together for the chairman of the session as he has officially opened this event. We would quickly move on to the next item.
We all know our rules, and we are related. I have the funds in the General Institute of Survey of Bayelsa for convention fees. I would have loved all the big environment professionals in the country to let ourselves know about our function. The chairman of NIESV, when he came here, he said something which granted my heart. A builder is established by law. B13, LFN, 2004, like all other professions. And his role is the physical management of building construction on sites. Is not the duty of an engineer. What means anyway? We have to correct this impression that we are here to learn. And Nigerian Building Code, Section 14, Subsection 4B, says that a builder is responsible for physical management of building project assets. Also, the supervision of artisans and craftsmen. These are penetrated our stance. It's a constitutional requirement. For this, I am calling the Vice of the House of Assembly, please domestic national building code. Because some of us will have class, even in the professionals. When I mean class in the professional is that when I'm a builder and I decide to act like a economist surveyor or an architect, I'm a back. There are rules for each professional to practice. Civil engineer follows rules, forefather, airports, and highways. In building, civil engineer has no role there. The engineer there is electrical engineer, mechanical, and structural engineer. Thank you very much. And then, when I say we should gathering once in a while to discuss this is that the way Bayelsa is today, if the client takes or a prospective building owner takes the drawing to fiscal line and he meets the requirements, they approve the drawing for him to go or have to go and develop at site. Without asking the question, who is the professional responsible for of that building? Let me not take much of the time. I think this can say then thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Ahmed. I think you should also something on because you were putting it to us and putting the section in the constitution. But you should know that the person that needs to speak on behalf of the engineer did not come as a civil engineer. He representing engineers. So you have structural engineers there, you have electrical engineers there, you have civil engineers. So please don't crucify this man. No, don't crucify him. Please. The secretary, ladies and gentlemen, will go on with the goodwill. I'd like to quickly welcome the representative of the Honorable Commissioner for Lands and Survey, Benson. I agree on to speak quickly before we take the Honorable Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure. Please let's put our hands together for the representative of the Commissioner for Lands and Survey. Thank you very much. I will like some simple topics. So we have to provide additional facts to say. We can see that the speech is already in there before you. Now there is one most important thing that I like to talk about. First and foremost, nice fact this is protocol, Honorable Commissioner of Accounts, the Commissioner of Works, ESV is ceremony. And we also have the representative of the Deputy Government Office and the Government. So my commissioner said, the only thing that should be stated rightly when I come in here, based on the speech, is the role of the estate. If you talk about estate valuers, if you want to talk about land management, they are there. If you want to talk about the fact that you want to put money into building, contact the estate valuer, because you give me a great information. If you want to talk about the fact that you want to really carry out compensation or whatever it is with the estate valuer. So the role of the estate valuer is a national builder. So for this very reason, we want to appreciate the estate valuers. And so we also have estate valuers in the Ministry of Lands and Soil, and they are doing very well. Basically, they are the ones that have helped us to ensure that when we build upon how the buildings are carried out, they have to value the land for us. They have to give us every detail about the land before we can even acquire it. So when the argument comes to the built environment, engineer, or the surveyor, or the builder comes up and everybody is educating who is who or all that, we start by saying, where will we be? Where do we start from? The land, isn't it? So we say the estate valuer is a national. So that's one of the most important aspects. That's the most important aspect that my honorable commissioner is really excited. And if you go through his speech, you can see that in totality, we have made it clear that he is saying that whatever the delegation that comes out, the community would like to work on it, especially the aspect of the rights and the policy on land. Many times the ministry is also coming up with land policy. So for this reason, this scheme is very important. Once we get the community, I believe that we will really use this community to establish some really work. So I thank you and may this delegation be.
Thank you very much. The Commissioner has settled the whole problem. The Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to quickly move on to the goodwill from the Honorable Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, the very performing Commissioner, Estate Surveyor, Moses. Everyone comes to do this goodwill message. Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, ably represented by the Deputy Chief of Staff, the Chairman of the National MCPD, my longtime friend, Charles. Let me also acknowledge the presence of the resource person, Professor Louis, and my predecessor in office, Estate Surveyor and Valuer, Godwin Committee. Permit me to also recognize traditional rulers here present, but I will not forget to acknowledge my performing and hardworking branch chairman, Estate Surveyor and Valuer, Remy Hassan. Global colleagues, representatives of allied professions here present, members of the fourth estate of the distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My message to my colleagues is very simple. But I'm studying estate management myself in the university, and I've practiced it in various ways. I want to still learn something today from Prof. and NIESV Foundation. When I saw the main theme, exploring the housing situation in Bayelsa State, challenges, opportunities, and sustainable strategies, I felt that the topic is actually hard. But how can housing be constructed in Bayelsa State without doing some basic things? And that is where the resources will come very. But as a practitioner, sadly, the church prosperity government, I would say that one key infrastructure needed and necessary for housing development has to do with provision of road infrastructure. Without accessibility, it will be difficult to construct houses. And so, road infrastructure plays a very key role in housing development. Another issue we need to understand has to do with our environment and terrain. We are in a rainforest and we are in witnessing flooding. And so for any housing construction, the land has to be elevated. And that has to do with sanctuary. These bring about costs of houses that will be constructed. Another issue that I think resources to tell us is taking into consideration the cost of provision of road infrastructure. Frankly, whether the houses to be put in place will be affordable, because the concept of affordability is very key and important. That means the government has to indirectly subsidize housing. And I think that is where the assured prosperity government is playing by embarking on road infrastructure within Yenegua and leading to our various communities. I'm here not as a lecturer, but to give a goodwill message. But I believe that all of us who are seated here are aware of the assured prosperity government's efforts in opening up the state territory and the provision of roads to our communities to encourage and to enable us build houses. And so, I will not bore you with, because of the time spent, about the road infrastructure projects that the prosperity government has embarked upon within the past 6 years. But permit me to say that we have a 22-kilometer outer ring road from Ibogene to 16 Brigade. That road infrastructure has opened up the eastern flank of the state capital for housing development. We are also aware of the construction and completion of Glory Drive Phase 2 and almost getting to completion level of here in the state capital, ready for housing development. Road 1 project in New University GRO that leads up to the central processing facility of SPDC, which is popularly called LNG Junction. And it will take me just 4 minutes from Olopa Bridge to get to Banatoro. It's also another road infrastructure. And you also have about 5 additional roads to the Union University GRO. All to here towards housing development. But I can tell you, because I've been involved in a project that His Excellency the State Government wants to embark on a housing project, and I believe the Director of Lands here can bear witness to that, that assessment for payment of compensation of land close to the stadium has already been done. And by the grace of God, I believe that the land will be properly, compensation will be properly paid, it will be cleared, and the housing scheme will take place. But there is already an ongoing project at the housing estate where the Housing and Property Development Authority have already embarked upon some of them. Just recently, His Excellency approved money for sand-filling that can tell you over 500 million naira. Sand-filling alone. And I've also approved about 700 million naira for the road infrastructure within that particular area. The General Manager of Housing and Property Development Authority is already working on it. So without the necessary infrastructure, it will be extremely difficult for developers, investors to embark upon housing development. But I can assure you that the assured Israeli government is already on it and doing a lot for that sector. I am not the commissioner for housing, there is no commissioner for housing. If we had one, that's what I'm speaking more about government's efforts. I want to stop here, but to say a very big thank you to my colleagues that have kept the flag flying. This all finance to administer on the follow the way to work and the eco structure experts of the like Moses Tebogo. You know, it's good to have the principle that works. You know, if you have the principle that works, it's very to be when you see that we have done a road there. You can go to the eastern flank, you see that we have opened up road there, you see we are building houses, we have given approval for more housing. That is when you have the principle that is working. But if you have a principle that doesn't work, the commissioner will have come here to explain and explain and explain, and everything will become audio project. But we are seeing projects from this administration, and I think it deserves another round of applause. Let's go to the speaker like that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we would now move on to our special guest of honor, who is no other than the number 2 man in Bayelsa State. I'm talking about the second citizen of Bayelsa State, the one that is supporting His Excellency to do so well. His Excellency has called it specially the capacity Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State. Please let's welcome His Excellency Honorable Pastor Peter Beresford, PhD, ably represented by conflict or tolerate everything. She knows that everything around is conflict. The national officers of Nigerian Institution of Estates of Girls, Values, and other things that are here. The state chairman and other officers of this institution, the Honorable Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, who is actually demonstrating capacity. We are very, very proud of him. And let me just stand on the existing protocol. His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Dr. Pastor Peter Boroduwage, would have been here personally. Today is really a very tight day for him. Like what somebody will always say, it really will become a day for him. But because of the importance of this event, this program, he asked me to come and represent him with a clear mandate to convey his remarks to you. So I'm not just going to be in a written form. So please, I just want to plead your indulgence to convey his remarks to you. It is a pleasure to join you at this important annual mandatory continuing professional development seminar. I commend the Nigerian Institution of Estates of Girls and Values for choosing a theme that speaks directly to one of the most pressing socio-economic challenges confronted not only by the state but the entire nation. Housing is much more than the provision of shelter. It is also about human dignity, family stability, economic productivity, urban development, and the overall quality of life of our people. Consequently, addressing Bayelsa's housing deficit requires deliberate policy, sustained investment, and strong collaboration between governments, professionals, and the private sector. It is important to acknowledge that the Bayelsa State government has, over the years, pursued deliberate intervention to expand the state housing stock. These include the DK Housing Estate Phase 1 and Phase 2, and the Okaka Housing Estate, which have provided planned residential accommodation to many residents. The state has also continued to expand its housing infrastructure. The ongoing expansion of the Okaka Housing Estate through the Bayelsa State Housing Development Authority is particularly significant. It demonstrates that government is not merely maintaining existing housing assets, but actively responding to population growth and increasing demand for accommodation. Government has equally provided residential accommodation for critical public offices, including the Commissioner's residential quarters and the legislators' residential quarters. These interventions form part of a deliberate policy to provide appropriate accommodation while supporting orderly urban development and ensuring that government assets are properly planned and utilized. These investments demonstrate that housing remains an important component of government policy. However, given the scale of the housing deficit, government alone cannot provide all the houses required by our growing population. The challenge before us is that how to move from government being principally a provider of housing to becoming a stronger enabler of a sustainable housing ecosystem. Our peculiar geographical circumstances presenting unique ability. The predominantly rural terrain of Bayelsa City with its standard high cost of construction is amazing. We must therefore adopt an integral accessible land, efficient land administration, proper fiscal plan, infrastructure provision, affordable housing grants, and exchange for private developers. Expansion of existing estates provides an opportunity to leverage already developed areas and infrastructure to increase housing supply. More
What are you doing outside? Your name is there.
we must need to provide new areas for plan sustainable development.
And if your name fall into that place,
a case in point is the well-planned new and city, also undertaken by the prosperity government of state directly. Going forward, the city will continue to explore public-private partnership, cooperative housing schemes, rent-to-own arrangements, service plots, mixed income developments, and innovative financing models that can attract private capital while making decent accommodation more accessible to ordinary buyers. On rent control levels as means for rent reduction, I believe we must approach the matter with both empathy and realism. The concern over rising rent is legitimate. Government has a responsibility to protect citizens from exploitative practices and promote reasonable access to accommodation. However, rent control by itself cannot solve the housing problem, fundamentally driven by inadequate supply, high construction costs, expensive land, infrastructure deficit, and increasing demand. If regulation is introduced without simultaneously increasing housing supply, it will discourage investment in rental properties and create unintended consequences. Our objective is therefore the affordable housing rather than simply controlled rents. The sustainable solution requires increasing the number of houses available, reducing development costs, improving infrastructure, encouraging mass housing schemes, and creating an enabling environment for developers and investors. The Nigerian institution, estates of yours and Bayelsa have a critical role to play in the process. Your professionals possess expertise required to provide reliable data on land values, rental trends, housing demand, property markets, and development feasibility. Government needs this professional knowledge to formulate evidence-based housing and land policies. I therefore encourage the institution to deepen its engagement with governments and provide practical recommendations that can translate into implementable programs. Our housing strategy must ultimately bring together governments, professional institutions, developers, financial institutions, cooperatives, and communities. No single stakeholder can close the housing gap alone. Our vision should be to build not many houses, but sustainable, safe, accessible, and functional communities where Bayelsans can live with dignity, where future generations can inherit a well-planned and economically productive state. The Bayelsa State government remains committed to strengthening its housing intervention, expanding existing estates, developing new housing opportunities, improving infrastructure, and creating policies that attract greater private sector participation. I therefore look forward to the recommendations that will emerge from this seminar, particularly on housing finance, land administration, rent affordability, infrastructure, private investment, and sustainable housing delivery. I commend the institution for providing this important platform and urge all participants to move beyond identifying the challenges to developing practical, measurable, and sustainable solutions. Therefore, we can build a Bayelsa State where decent and affordable housing is not a privilege for the few, but an achievable reality for our people. I wish you fruitful deliberation and a successful seminar. Thank you and God bless. Thank you very much. The good member of His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Honorable Councillor Peter Perez-Noah, PhD, well captured speech by His Excellency. Thank you so much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are here, like His Excellency has rightly captured, that wishing us fruitful deliberations as we go on with the event. Before we call on our lead speaker, I would like to especially recognize a member of the council and the institution of estate surveyors and valuers. Estate surveyor and valuer Monday, IEWA, FNIPS, please let's do that forward. Thank you so much for coming. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will be listening to our lead speaker today. We will be talking about housing deficit in Bayelsa State, challenges, opportunities, and sustainable solution strategies. I would like to respectfully ask Estate Surveyor and Valuer Professor Timothy Benga-Nuri to please step forward and they'll stand in as I take his citation. Please clap for me. Professor Timothy Nuri is an urban planner with a career spanning over 3 decades. He has made significant contributions to real estate finance, property development, urban regeneration, and sustainable development. Professor Nuri's academic credentials include an HND in town planning from Yaba College of Technology, a bachelor's in estate management and master in construction management from the University of Lagos, and a PhD in construction management from the University of Lagos. Professionally, he is a fellow of Nigeria Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. He holds a professorship at the University of Lagos. Second, as head of the Department of Estate Management and Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Sciences. He also has practical experience as an assistant and zone planning officer at Kuta Steel Township and Bayelsa State, Nigeria. Professor Nubi's research focuses on real estate finance, property development, urban regeneration, and sustainable development. He is consulted for organizations like the World Bank and the United Nations Development Program. As the founder and director of the Center for Housing and Sustainable Development at UNILAG, he promotes housing and real estate development through research and capacity building. His ideal habitat initiative aims to eliminate homelessness in Nigeria. Professor Nuri has received notable awards, including the University of Lagos Distinguished Researcher Award. And I would like to take about to say, publicly opportunities and cultural integration strategy. Professor Timothy Nuri, please settle down and speak for me. Wait, let it go. Give him space. You speak, but then it does. Shoot it to many guys ago. They smack each other, always wow. I put the body of the whole world on my head. Was several days of crime. When I was presenting my local lecture, the body was but I thought I would see a great thing. I didn't see. In 2019, in 2006, Mr. Obasanjo appointed us in the board of federal housing authorities. And we told to have opportunity to give this station to the roadman as well. What the instruction was go and give us a roadman. It's unfortunate that the representative of the government is not even sitting. Most of us here, we can't do anything. Housing is not going to be. Housing is government issue. There's no assignment for any governor that is greater than a guy here. That's what I'm listening. You see, there is something, there's an opportunity that the age gives you. I turned 65 last month, last 3 weeks ago. And if not for the fact that Professor has service, I should be in my village now. And I have to say in the great of Allah. No regret. My wife's daughter is from me. Lady drove from London to Lagos 2 years ago. Not even fine. You that I was pushing there, and I was to drive you. What's happening? So we don't take that. I see how easy it is. I also too many things. There's so many things that is not in something. All our going to gather this gather. See you on back you. Until governance sort it out. We're moving nowhere. Governance. Governance. Missionary leadership. Blessed is that who believes or people are blessed. Pay homage to you as traditional leaders. As the governance problem in this country is the short term of every dispensation. So every governor, every president any governor that takes short term, the people will suffer. And I'm afraid. Not trying to succeed here. As far back as 2006, we gave this nation the template of what Sonjo and his federal government. They stood up Together, under the leadership of General Issa Chairman, I was more than secretary of that board. Understand? It was technical work, backed up by KPMG. Federal government spent about 300 million to KPMG to give us secretarial service. And we designed a model for this station. That was abandoned. So 2015, I was grinding. When my daughter started telling me about 8 years ago, that that's fine. If you go to Israel about cat you want someone that picture, she's been smiling as a child. He said that life is too short to be worried about the sex of the color of your socks. If it's brown, you see put in one day. Nobody is shaking you say, I'm looking for the same socks, and they don't have one upside down. Say that you have seen green, red, and go to the different say, that's smiling. But each time you travel, we are reminded of our failure. The leader has been to 194 countries because it belongs to a social media generation. When I look at the country that she has been to, I also been to, if not more. I am traveling left and right for this country. How Yerewa was never this sophisticated. Surprise. There's a big Calabar, but that was said by himself. Probably because of the University of Calabar. Each will said by I became fellow in the Euro. What were media is different. What were media is not for lack of what to do. My life. I told you, my brother invited me as a Sunday morning was my mission with Sophie. I said, I must follow you. I must follow you. I must follow these things. I did not know what I else had been. Truly, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Ambulance came to pick me Sunday, but I know what here. You know that. Because I want you. And there's responsibilities on because of what I can hear to feed this country. Whatever we can see, all this belief, and here, the past, I said, past, our children will suffer. Our children will suffer. But this has been our song, and the needful. He said, Mary has chosen the needful. The needful are neglected, and we are debating over who is superior. And people are living under the bridges. Where is the leader of the Lord instead of power? The leaders are complaining. How shall stand underwater? And the leader is still asking points of your, I don't be your God, I don't be your kids. 2006, I was in South Africa in England. And I look at the beauty of Europe. And I look down and saw what I read. And the question is that should I go back to learn too? Then I was a senior lecturer. I was processing my professorial experience. And the pressure to stay, because my family had moved them to UK. The pressure to stay with them that my wife was saying, you are young, you stay with them, we need you now. You can start, you can become chief professor in UK. And I look at it, so I look at everything I look at. The next time I walk on the street of London, there is something in my mind that some people build this civilization. No one can you say yo. I want peace. And the problem with me was that why want to go to a country and become professor of agri when 70% of the children are carrying quadruple belly? Why want to be a professor of building where houses are collapsing every day? Who should raise hand as a professional and engineering school? Who should raise hand as an engineering school? Who? 2003. 2003. In fact, they invited me to American Embassy, celebration of Emancipation Day, January 15. And I was in the house of the diplomat, and I was discussing. I told one of the my wife's American. He met myself and my wife, who happened to be a front planner too, and said, "Oh, we do this as I said, can I meet you?" I said, "Oh, there is something I was saying." And then my wife said, "The front planner, this of federal minister of laws." I said, "I have a plan." Start shame. It's my God. So they are financing. Socialism. I think you all know.
Come give you sample passport, opportunity to travel the world, freedom to travel the world. My sister understand the value of that passport. Listen, being an American citizen is not going to travel from America to your own country. Practice your own country, not a vacation. It's another job in Canada. We are here to build heaven on earth.
We are here to build heaven on earth.
You read about is here in Vietnam.
Everyone you read about is here in Vietnam. Vietnam.
You are not impressed. You are just a long place. So fucking bring future freedom. First I know the finish. Happy road I know the finish. It's not the guy.
That's simple. Very simple. You can say, yeah, travel with education. You do your maths, experience. But get out there, get experiences. Yeah, don't do it. Oh, get out there. Get out there. Get out there.
Listen, if you like today, if you like today, the rest of you use the one is so good. Somebody
Tell this one to show.
What's on the screens? I said I'll put to the side.
Where do you have in Nigeria? Huh? If you get that, you can. What's my name? We for the love food. This is Nigerian ID describing Vietnam as well. I was there. I stood where they stood. Where they stood. It's almost about 1,000 meters above sea level, or 12,000 feet. And can mighty sea. And I kept on asking myself, how did they bring building material to this spot? That place where those guys stood, 30,000 visit the place every day. 30,000 bringing dollars from America. They built their country. They built their country. They built their country. And wise men were foolish. That's why their cultural heritage. Those are things they are. Those are things we go and travel to go and see. Not 20 spectacular. They have clean streets, clean streets. From the airport to this place, someone, two people carrying waste. Why is the meaning of this question? Shook the back very well to make sure that two people are the back. Shook the back and go to bring this one. Why is the meaning of this question? I'm saying, touch come, the nation will prosper. Is that money? Is it money? Is it money that is required to do that one? Cultural meditation. Simple houses. The house is expensive, not better than the other house. And when you have both houses to are doing it, it's for everybody. It's for house. When you spend time like this, you are the house. Their plot is almost 20 feet by 30 feet. Everybody. No big house. But it went down. No big car or car. And the guy has to know now. What did I do? You are in a hurry to airport. And there is a guy in front of you. Because you people like that. Police. You should address your house to tell you. Because, no, I get one. There are so many jokes. We use that here. So if you give food and if you give it, you close states. Because my own paper, my own name is so I usually come early and I go work 3 times to get to the airport to 5. That to make the first 5. So look at that. Now family is now family knows. Not the key knows. Now God bring you here to wake us up. What you see people do there, you are most of the issue. They are away from different. What don't read. And that flood also last year. They are not special land. It's also a tropical land like our own. They are also a floodplain area like our own. They were able to put themselves together. We spend so much money and time building political structure than building communities. Go and look at the amount of money that ABC spent in Osho State. 16 billion. 16 billion. I changed the entire universe of Lagos with less than 1 billion. I innovated college of medicine, radiography, Akoka, with less than 1 billion. Somebody needs 16 million for this person. I'm saying that's the nation of people. That's what we think our life. 16 million. 16 million for election that was lost. You know, as 65, you can speak your mind. God, I won't do fiction. Put that picture. Go to the first slide. Housing represents the largest concentration of global wealth. And that's why they're still getting this wrong. Housing is treated as a nuisance. When you mention housing, No, let's do this first. Let's do this first. Let's do politics first. Let's budget this first. The housing is the engine. Is everything. For every nation to make progress, ever should be on housing. So save our time, you have my paper, continue. Real estate account for about half of the global wealth. About half. Residential real estate. Real estate in total represents 74% of global wealth. 74%. Residential aspect of it is 50%. All these global from oil and gas now only to 60%. And unfortunately, the nation focuses on the one that is 20% and ignore 74%. There is no nation that developed faster than its real estate sector. No wonder they call it real estate. It's only estate that is real. Unfortunately, there is no kind of it. You know exactly the next one. The next one that understood it. The wrong with it and it turn around. Next slide. The call for economic investment leader. If Africa should focus on housing, on real estate, they come out of this offers. Continue. In Nigeria, it's so big, Nigerian markets, $2.4 trillion US dollars in 2024, with essentially accounting for about 2.08. Driven by those are things that are missing outside Ghana. Population. I call it the monster in the room. This is not very frightening here. But from what I've had this morning ago, and from what I've seen from the airport to this day, I also have to so you guys never mind. I got here, I'm stop. So you trying to stop. 1.2 million with landlord's prayers. Landlord's prayers. Okay. The population of Nigeria today is 220 million. By 2050, which is about 24 years time, Nigerian population will be 450 million. Lagos 20 billion today, 40 million in 24 years time. 24 years time is just tomorrow. Just tomorrow. The population of Nigeria today, Bayelsa today, is also going to go. And rent is already unaffordable. Then you can now imagine what it will be when the population. And that is the audience. That is what should give we professionals ability. And I keep on telling people that when COVID, which one before COVID? Ebola broke and COVID broke. Who among the professionals save this nation, save the world? The medical professionals. The medical engineer to come and solve the Ebola problem. The medical architect come and solve COVID problem. The housing problem now my head. Once we fail, they should fail. But if Ebola, if COVID, if doctor will rescue us, then we own this nation. That woman at that level, remember her, that medical doctor, when American party that man from Sierra Leone or Liberia to come and infect Nigeria with Ebola, the woman, the doctor, the daughter of our first vice chancellor at that level, that discovered that that man had Ebola. And immediately it was revealed, the man wanted to run out of the hospital. The doctor Doctor Elena grabbed her and she was in my eye. She sacrificed her life for him. If that man has got you to the street of people, Nigeria will have finished. All the doctors, all the nurses, everywhere that man touched, they won't die. And until someone among us will sit down with our leaders and say, let's take this in light. Probably not because of us, the possibility will come. The population is rising. The deficit is increasing. This is the only country in the world that someone still goes to office in one day, come back. And there is someone inside the places now. No other video. In this country. And go and check their payroll, they promoted them in the last 3 years. And the ways are piling up. Someone inside your housing, someone inside your infrastructure, someone inside your household. We have to fix it. Next slide. Let's go to Bayelsa. Next slide. The current system is, but that's a systemic ecosystem. There's no way with this continuous model that will fix the house experiment to you. Continue. These are in the papers, and the site will also be made available to us. The site should be made available to us. Nigerian 5-dimensional Nigerian housing deficit. Quantitative, affordability, qualitative, infrastructure, resilient. Continue. Where we all are professional, know what we buy, quantitative, inadequate, unsafe, deteriorating, external to talk. Continue. Definition, affordability, housing that is not affordable. Once you are paying more than 30% of your salary on housing, either as a rent or to service your mortgage, it's not affordable. But if any man should pay more than 30%, if you are earning only naira and you are paying rent that is more than 30 naira, you bash something will suffer. So that's the United Nations calculation. But you all know in Abuja, people pay more than 100%. And we are getting towards that here and God. And the situation is becoming hopeless. With all this every FFBA, every through stability, it came to the mass of it. And our salary for they see one of the biggest in the country today. Lecturer salary is small. And by the time they came, they told us we can't benefit from any roof. They told university professors, university lecturers that you will not benefit. Professors can also benefit. They said if you have earning less than 500,000, you can't qualify for any of them. So if university lecturers, by the time you are a professor, you begin to earn about 650,000, you are already 3 or 5 years out of the system. So by the time they calculate your repayment, you are still not qualified. So a lady from the University of Lagos got a housing allocation. From Lagos, YouTube wants to that she can work for 10 years. They gave her an allocation of 28 million. Where is the house? In Sheffield. Almost 20 million. 26 million. She's been pursuing that allocation for 3 years. But instead of dancing, she was crying. Number one, how would she risk 28 million? She can never. She can help. We went to the home loan committee, maximum ceiling 100. Friends gathered 8 million. She's looking for 20 million. Where will the natural man? And it's 50,000. Gets money to pay for 28. And that's a natural man. Well, measure for 8 million. Not 25. How much more you and I that are on the lower level? So it's like it's hopeless. Because we kept on, you see, our leadership is at workshops and seminars like this. That all of us can eat together. Solve the problem. But for the people, you sit down before for a workshop for seminar from 7 o'clock to 7 at night. You know leave. And that's why it was true to push the people. That's how she policy. A medical doctor, she will listen. She sat under the feet of professional people. Plan. Because the work there is knowledge. You can only govern through knowledge. And the academy does not know it all. The politician does not know it all. No profession can solve the problem they know. But when we come together, that's why I said thank you so much, all the professional chairman that are represented here. We all have roles to play. Until we come together, we call it co-production. We can't solve the problem of housing. It's big. And all of us have roles to play. Even the national rulers, who are the national custodian of land, on which everything is built. Continue. Let's move quickly to Bayelsa. Yeah, go to Bayelsa. Okay. Right? From. Is that Bayelsa?
Yes, Bayelsa.
Okay, that's not Bayelsa. Yeah, is that the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So many things. Yes. How to go back to those. The conventional Nigerian deficit. Laying the foundation, infrastructure dependency, standard grid connection. Look at Bayelsa. Call Chanel. The problem of Bayelsa, what is it? More complicated. That's of Bayelsa. That's of Nigeria. Then the question is this: for every problem is business opportunities, and there are always solutions. There are always solutions. Netherlands, the entire Netherlands is like a goal. Every day of their life has to come from the house of the enemy. The entire country. The more the problem, the more the potential will shine. First step in Bayelsa is in Lagos today. If you want to build a house, all you need to go and buy a land and do what? Lay the foundation. That's the Bayelsa. First step, creating the land. You have to create the land first. Through reclamation. Then infrastructure dependency, critical for asset survival, drainage and elevation. I saw some of them. I'm not here. I told you this my first time. And God knows why it should say I should call. If you bring me back, I will call. Sir, from what I see, until you go to next time. My experts have several quantitative, not enough housing units. Qualitative.
All waters.
Poor water sanitation. Okay, poor water sanitation.
Sanitation, electricity.
Under housing exceed, but beyond household purchasing power. Location disconnected from job, schools, markets, healthcare, and transport. Resilience. How good. Are you the ones here? Like classroom. Okay. Resilient. Quality. Yeah. Look at the picture. No lines sunk in the rain. High reclamation costs. Difficult foundation. Pressure on wetland. It's a major problem. It's a major problem that I saw as I was coming today. Now the next slide. The next slide tells us natural drainage channel built over destroying natural water dispersal. Wetland and agree between my 12 and Lagos. For those who know Lagos and Kudu, there's a place called Agree. In the western part of Lagos State, they call the place Agree. Even up to tomorrow, if you are going to Kudu, they say Agree bus stop. They say call the place Agree. Because in the master plan, it was supposed to be clean and agreed wetland. But today, the city there is bigger than Abeokuta. Under the lush of professional government, wetland was destroyed. And when there was a year, the entire place was blocked. The group moved to Kurudu. Another day, they said they opened the dam. And my brother was working with water authorities, with Moshu, water evacuation authorities. And by the time he came, he said, no, they tested the water. They found out that the water was salty. It was ocean that flew back. And the entire people name up to Kurudu today, they are in there. There was a encroachment on wetland. And the way we are building now, if we are not mindful, worse things will happen. Because we are facing the problem of climate change. Serious problem with climate change. The next slide. Yes, Bayelsa is slightly creek and wetland, which is low lying and flood prone. Continue. Interwoven networks of creeks and rivers dominate Bayelsa topography. Continue. Out of 3 primary channels, where the river Niger empties into the Atlantic Ocean, 8 major systems runs through Bayelsa. Out of 10. 8 major ecological challenges. Continue. So, you see the problem. I had a mother, the mother of my last year in said, are you the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The woman said that before, when they were young, they always go to the forest to do it. And now we brought WC, we brought toilet inside our room, and our room now stays. And this thing is very expensive, but yes, to still live from it.
So, we see assessment of flood risk mapping flood zone. Continue. These are technical issues concerning the engineers that understand. Organization, mapping organization are basically by human. 2,000,304 Bayelsa estimated population. Continue, please. Flood Bayelsa. Bayelsa see the idea of Nigeria flood risk, low-lying coastal crossing by rivers and downstream. 1.3 million crops displayed in 2022. 596 billion in loss in 2024. As of October 2024, the number of homes partially damaged by flood in Bayelsa was 226,000. According to the Nigerian Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Social Management and Social Development, this is serious. This is serious. You know why it's serious? This climate change that we're talking about, if the sea level, Lagos is below sea level. If water should rise in Lagos up to 1 meter, 20%, 30% of Lagos will be waterless. Facing here is what was seen. And climate change is real. That's why we have assisted here. We have to really, our discussion is beyond sovereignty issue. The living must survive. You understand what I'm saying? I agree. But with climate change threats, your grandchild know about it. That's the question. But there are so many places in history that have existed that climate change off. So that should give us, that should really challenge us to say, how do we do things differently? So that working in today. And man has advanced, things are really changed. Continue, please, so that I can learn more. This study was supported by research. It's a research carried out with 720 respondents. Continue. The anatomy, let's look at the anatomy of, yes. What happened? Unplanned expansion, undersized infrastructure, self-inflicted blockage, like I'm seeing now. Anyone that disposes waste indiscriminately should be jailed. It's a capital punishment. Self-inflicted blockage. When a habit led into flood and damage several 20-something thousands of houses, and people are still continuing such habits, such people, they don't have the right to do it because their lifestyle has endangered the entire humanity. It's as serious as that. And until we begin to pay serious attention to stop nothing, restraint overload, too much rain now, and it will increase. This is the warning. This is like the voice in the wilderness. We have not seen anything. Look at so many properties that were destroyed in Lekki. And as we move into 2030, more rain will come. So we now pretend as if there is no danger ahead of us and go and see that the houses we are putting on today will be destroyed tomorrow. We can't afford to do that. Continue, please. One thing I want to conclude with is that there are nations around the world that face similar problems that have been solved. Okay. There are many places around the world that face similar problems that have been solved. Singapore. Singapore is also an island. Singapore has a similar topography and terrain when compared to Bayelsa State. They are both coastal and low-lying terrain with extensive mangrove and wetland. Bayelsa and Singapore both have high susceptibility. Only a portion of Singapore is developed people land that can put upon. A lot of land reclamation is done in Singapore for housing to be constructed. So if they have done this somewhere, you know, just like an answer man. If an answer man says it's simple, he said he has said it. I said take this one ago. He said, have you had the headache before? Is this what you use? If you say yes, you take it and use. Singapore faces that problem. Go to the next slide. Is that it?
Yes, this next slide.
It was created because Singapore Housing Development Board was created in 1960. It was created when our own president said that money was not affordable without to spend it. You know, there was a president of Nigeria that told the world money, say money, you get that plenty. And he said money is not a problem without to spend it. That's when nations are building their nation. They have similar world house. I grew up in housing corporation estate in Atlanta. And that estate was the last built by the corporation. They were built in the city. And someone still go around the years, was the general manager of that one. That is the last 30 years. That I entered that board as a head one, officer one, became the general manager. They are not built the simple house, and they will get the commission. Yes. Our next now.
Waje mana baranda. Oh.
Forget about this. That's right. Housing problem is a global problem. Housing problem is a global problem. If you get to Bounty today, Taraba today, they are making progress as far as housing concerned. If the governor should show interest and send people to Singapore, scale this place out. Like the governor have done, that wants to take this state out of this epileptic national degree. And he's doing it. And he stood here today, sir, to tell us that in the last 3 months, I feel proud. And those are things that still keep me alive. If he could do it for electricity, he can do it for us. If he could do it for electricity, the national grid is connected to us, and people are not enjoying it. Take it off. He brings the command. Because he has to understand it. If they understand this, if they can put it together, take a talk to Kenya, take a talk to Singapore, they will come back and replicate Singapore here. And generations in 20, 30 years to come will say, go to Bayelsa. In the midst of difficulty, they rule their houses safe. Is it not possible? Other what people are going to prosperity goes on. If there is anything I don't know, sir, that if there is anything that can bring prosperity, it's out. It's out. It's out. Next slide, next slide, next slide. This is what you do. No need to read. That simple estate that you have designed, that you have done infrastructure. By the time you begin to have, by the time you begin to have, in a wetland, you can't build, you can't destroy her. The mangrove is in beauty. You don't destroy it. Like the small area that you are working on. Don't have do this one. No, don't do this one. Don't do this one. Don't do this one. No. This is what you should do. Go to the next slide. Abba. You know, there is what, there is what, there is what. What is strengthening our market? Which one is it's not because our architect are designing human house. That's why back and area boy are competing with us. And oil and gas company approach us to do validation. The question you are asking us for Washington, if one quack attend disappear, even with professor, with the question you ask, when this nation prosper, and we are working all of us in build development, but this is what we are designing from Sagoto, and we are telling Sagoto that they are success there, I can be. They are designers in Turkey, don't need to go to Dubai for us. They are actually designing. They are engineers behind it. Let's go up, let's go up. And we tell things like this. There is no job. One surveyor will tell you why he said do that because you next slide. About okay, no time. The feeling 3 minutes. Compact town planning model. Compact town planning model. This new service demand, infrastructure application, and all that. I can't tell any people. I said, look, okay. Well, there is no branch I'm not saying thank you, sir. Allow me to continue, sir. God bless you, sir. Silence today. I was in the house of operating fund. I was presented a deal like this. That's it. When you say to someone 3 months, 4 months, to people like you look at this. Look at what we are talking about. I've never been here in my life. You have to research this. You have to prepare the slides. It's you that said I come. And they pay me money on revenue. They put me inside the bed. They bought gas tickets. And someone came up, someone came. I'm talking of gas perfume. A policy perfume. No, there's something that let me tell something. They sent that ticket and they sent me, what's my food for things? I've never had that in my life. So apart from it, that's it. Thank you. What am I saying is that I just made something. Someone came and did 40 minutes Google this. We spent about 4 hours with him. And by the time he came to my spot, he said, Prof, tell me this. I said, I don't say it. Because you know the unfortunate thing is that my intellectual client in class 3 hours. So I teach. I've been lecturing all my life, society itself. And my unit is 3 weeks course. And I spent 3 months to prepare this is CPD, small conference. this training program. There's a difference between process. We want to look at their technical issue, and that's the way it was described by the government. That this is technical section. If it's not the technical, it's not a CPD, we will invite the masquerade and the marketmen who will be dancing in conferencing. There is training, this lecture. So there must be time. I'm planning on, but please, let's just situate it so that our time is well spent here. He told me, he said from the airport, let me get to my hotel and refresh. I said, I'll refresh after the finish my goal. This is the job I have to do here. Please allow me to do. Continue, sir. But I am showing you, I'll give the Lord this. But it was standing there, was he fighting me? I said, was he fighting me? I was ordained pastor 1994. And each time I preach, the usher standing there. So you're standing there with me, and because my usher, one of my ushers are standing right now, they see me that I should want you. And that's kind of the because plan is scarce. I think we understand that. God and bigger. You see, we may not be able to do this now. We are all education. We will tell our children that there was a time we realized our mistake. That we have invested we might just design it and not see huge man as man for. But today, for millionaire. What do you mean? Oh, God's everything wrong. What's everything wrong? Yes. No. The housing challenge in Bayelsa is not simply a shortage of housing. It is a challenge of producing the right houses in the right location, at the right cost, with the right infrastructure and right finances. Next slide. The land, finance economy, governance, the environment, the impact. Now, unfortunately, in this country today, look at this sector as if go to resource, go to infrastructure, and they are not talking. They are not talking. This is worse in Lagos. This is worse in Lagos. When ministries were advertised, and you don't even know what this one is doing. Somebody came to me, said they were writing housing policy for Lagos many years back. He said, where are you working? He said, national state planning, economic planning. I said, it's Ministry of Housing that you will do this. He said, my guy, she said, they should not know yet that you are doing it. What to use to be government? What to use to impress the government? Next slide. Next slide. Now, the province said, I'm planning a direction. No, go to that one. Go to that. Okay. Land management community. Building communities, not testing. Infrastructure. This should be the will. This should be the will. It's a will. It's a will. And all this must be driven. State land bank, community partnership, professional estate and facility management, community schools out there. Everything must be well thought through. Next slide. The kind of foundation, the kind of building is there. This was a recommendation by one of the PhD students, the best PhD students, many years ago, that since we are aware of this flood, that this climate change would lead to increase in rise sea level, that this space we are talking about in the next 100 years, it might be underwater. Since we cannot blame ourselves for what we did before we had information must be on the elevated floor. But on the elevated floor, moving forward, not for us, but for our children. First floor, open, car park, sort of recreation. On the elevator side, the houses at Makoko, the Niger houses on sea. Our parents had that wisdom to put seat down and build on them. And water and man, they are. No one is resolving no more. In Venice, people were using canoe like Makoko. And houses were standing. And people will live inside their boats and enter the house. And these are big houses. The fact that we have water is not a sin. We build around it. We design around it. It's not everything that is something. No one mode fits all. A young man always follow a 4-year-old man, boy always follow his father to the workshop. And the former will talk. He said, the rules should not be low. You have a good moment. And another said, good moment. One day the boy told his father, he said that I need a junior one. He said it's money that is not giving also. So it's like, why can't you put more money? It's not everything, put more money. It's not every solution that is the same thing. Sacrifice. No. Let us come up with design. Let us come up with design that the water is the same there. The water is still there. There are neither people. Water is not our enemy. Let us make our design. And that is going to be what the whole world come and do. How we are living with water. I just never into my profession. No. Essence of us are value. We have critical role to do. Valuation, basic agency, that is an economics, big restructuring. We are having people here. In this new network, those are not job. Not economic solution. People restructuring, people that will work. People is not working in Lagos. People is not working in Lagos. I've had people in this world. Friends have mentioned it. The friends of the government have mentioned it. Let's promote government people to come and partner with us so that we can develop their state. People is succeeded to everywhere in the world. Because no governor, no state government, federal government can do it alone. All over the world, people have been now, because it's not working in Nigeria, it's not working in America, it's not working in Europe. My student in the last 4 years for a PhD was studying PPP. Why PPP is not working? You'll find it on equal partnership. Government this land in Lagos. Those developers. How many times the developer? Developer say, like that, you show them the land, something like you will require billion to something. What do you do before you can do it? Check this land. So the partnership is not equal. If government is coming with land, let them come with serviceable land. That's not what Canada is doing. If you cannot build new houses, why can't you work on the old one? United Nations said that we have 20 million housing deficit. And we believe that an average household size in Nigeria is 5. Husband, wife, 3 children. 5 times 20 million. Put the calculation on 5 times 100 million. What's the population of Nigeria? 200 million. Are we saying that 200? Are we saying that 100 Nigerians are homeless? No. But what World Bank is saying that, what United Nations Housing is saying that 100 million Nigerians were not living in a proper house. Those houses are in slum. I passed many of them as I was sorry for the airport. They don't need new land. All they need is critical amount of money from FNB to upgrade. Government ought to do road, give them electricity. A fraction of what we devote to new house at the expense of old and collapsing one will be used for upgrading. So go to the next slide. The way forward, 10 points agenda. Establish a Bayelsa housing data observatory, very urgent. Conduct a comprehensive housing needs assessment. We don't just talk and say, they say our deficit in Bayelsa is between 10 and 15. No, we can't do governance Yes. Condition research, condition study, this assessment, create a state housing bank, prepare serviceman for development, develop the Bayelsa housing finance strategy, forget about Nigeria. This, you, as you are taking yourself out of the national grid, take yourself out of the mess. Scale PPP and cooperative housing. Because the problem is that we build for people. Hello? Developers should build. Yes, sir. And now they will be going overseas to go and do those shows. And attract diaspora. And communities are there that are struggling. Some of them are input. Some of them are being together.
I should add audio input.
They already show their need.
I should add an audio.
To own their houses.
I don't know.
We've done it before in Nigeria. Satellite town. 19 companies.
No, not yet.
CBN, 9 posts, 9 Unilife.
Which of them?
They were giving that satellite town. Divided. Government provided.
Digital audio interface. USB or microphone.
Service store.
Digital one, digital audio interface. 2 microphone. And 3 microphone array.
We can refine it.
vMix audio. vMix audio.
There's no rocket science in it. Only skill.
Input audio.
Professional and institutional governance. Professional.
Yes.
Among we professionals.
Yeah.
No respect for institution. Look at that building that collapsed in Lagos.
Okay, Scarlet 2-1.
21-story building that collapsed in Lagos. Thank God that young man.
I clicked it.
He would have spent his life in sorrow for this.
Click on OK, Abi.
No,
Okay, I think it is. It is now.
because the national calamity. He has done it in London. First black man to be there as in London. He did the same project in South Africa. They did it because and failed. Why? Why? Because he got that offer for 15 pounds. And professionals are in the government office in the ministry. No 21-story building suddenly surface. Then you are told that there are many times that many people went there to stop work with themselves out of sight. They will make a phone call. Institutions in the class are so weak. Professionals are not supporting their project. Man, can I be a professional on a project that has an offer for 16 floors, 15 floors, and you add another floor, up to the top floor until you reach to that? Establish measurable 10 years delivery goal. I think that's the end. Okay. You see this one here. The shaman analysis. Next slide. Very interesting. These last 2 slides are interesting. Just take time to go through them. Next slide.
Last slide.
Last slide. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different people. And I'm begging all of us here today to serve in these times. There is an urgent need to change some of our dominant assumptions in order to see different outcomes. Like I tell you now, I am wrong.
I think Professor Louis is going to start doing the obligation. So that well visible lecture. Thank you so much, Prof, for that beautiful presentation. And just for the records, for me to set the record straight. Prof, I was enjoying your presentation. Just the way that you are a professional, I was also trying to be professional with my job. I wanted to do more. I love your presentation, your delivery, and everybody here enjoyed it from the beginning to when you concluded. So I think let's give you a round of applause. Wow. The painful thing is that I'm not an estate surveyor and valuer. I would have taken another course at UNILAG just to be, there's a program just to be in your class. Oh, yes, sir. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we just listened to the lead speaker for this event. He made very valid points which we need to take home. And I like the fact that he emphasized that this is a mandatory continuing professional development seminar. And it is important that when we come here, we should open our hearts to learning, give more time. Possibly the chapter will look into that and we spend more time learning. But Prof, you used over close to 1 hour, 20 minutes for your delivery. And you can scan the QR code to have the soft copy of the program booklet, and we can also use this to follow the slides as the speaker and facilitator makes his presentation. I think there's a QR code there. You just scan it, and you could have a soft copy. I'm working on my soft copy here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, would quickly take the next, which will still be talking to these issues that have been raised. I'd like to call on our next speaker, who will be looking at the case for rent control legislation in Bayelsa State. Prospects for achieving affordable housing. And I want to respectfully call on estate surveyor and valuer barrister Godwin Tobler on your side to please step forward so I get the citation before the presentation. Let's put our hands together for the forward. Estate surveyor and valuer Godwin Tobler, qualified NIESV, RSV, graduated from the River State University of Science and Technology, Port Harcourt, in 1988 with an honor degree in estate management. It is compulsory from 1988 to 1989, lecturing at both the State Polytechnic of Bayelsa, now the Abiola Polytechnic. He also attended the University of Leicester, UK, obtaining a postgraduate certificate in business administration in 2010. And also attended Bayelsa University, Faculty of Law, and graduated with a Bachelor of Law degree in 2024. After graduation, estate surveyor and valuer Godwin Tobler worked in various organizations, presently possessing close to 4 decades of real estate experience. He started his career in 1989 at the Federal Ministry of Internal Affairs, Works Department, and Alamo close before he left the Federal Civil Service in 1992 to join Financial Trust Company Limited as estate officer managing a 20-story office complex known as Financial Crossing House, Alogun Street, Lagos. With the finance house crash of 1992 to 1993, he left the financial sector and joined Fola Oyeko and Associates, a professional firm of estate surveyors and valuers in January 1994, where he rose to be the Port Harcourt Real Estate Branch Manager. He handled all professional roles and managed human and other resources. In 2002, he was recruited by multinational telecom giants, NTN Nigeria Communications Limited, as the acquiring sites for NTN base stations. He was later promoted as the pioneer head site acquisition for the Asaba region, covering the entire southeastern states plus Benue State. After 7 years of meritorious service in a multinational environment, he pulled out and established Godwin, Cohiba, and Associates, estate surveyors and valuers in Asaba, Delta State, working extensively for both the Delta State government and several high network personalities. In January 2017, the Bayelsa State Government appointed him as the Managing Director of the Bayelsa Property and Investment Company Limited, Yenkoa, a role he handled most professionally, efficiently for 7 years. He was also appointed as Honorable Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, Bayelsa State from January 2019 till the end of government. This is standard. He is currently the Bayelsa State Chairman of the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria, REDN. Estate Surveyor and Valuer Godwin Cohiba was elected as associate member of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers in 1997. He was also registered by the Estate Surveyors and Valuers Registration Board in 2003. He was elevated to the prestigious status of a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers in February 2018. He has attended over 30 management courses on project management, real estate valuation, management development, business administration, staff and team management seminars both in Nigeria and abroad. Estate surveyor and valuer Godwin Cohiba is happily married to Dr. Mrs. Bridget Cohiba, an educationist, lecturer, and journalist with fiction. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you on this speaker, estate surveyor and valuer, Bayelsa. Thank you. I want to acknowledge our leaders in the House and stand on the already established protocols. Thank you for your time and staying with us to this moment. My discussion is centered around rent control, and it's a very topical issue right now. Like somebody pointed out, a single, maybe one bedroom apartment, you have to be in the and be able to afford it. We pay money and funny enough, while that looks good, I was to get a single apartment for my son who was doing a master's program in the USC. And they told me the house itself is 500,000. But the agency fee is 20% in Port Harcourt. And I spoke to over, even when I told them I'm an estate surveyor, I didn't cheat anything, I didn't do anything. So the agency fee 20%, legal fee, they were to take another 20%. And eventually they relaxed and said it's 10%. I was speaking with a lawyer,
but it's the agent that was collecting all this. So by the time you add up all those fees, it's a lot of money to pay. I'm the tenant. I'm the tenant. So talking about rent controls is something very important. Now, Prof, thank you very much for your presentation. You have made work very easy. When we talk of rent control, it will look like it is something that must be done. The truth is that it is something that is existing in so many places, but they succeed with various, they succeed with variation, not the way people understand it to be. So rent control is not new, but in going that way, why do people why do governments go into rent control? I will just discuss because the substance of what I will present is already in a brochure, I think. So I just speak to the key things and the short while it will be through. I think Prof has done a very detailed work about it. We are just looking at one aspect of it. Can rent control help somebody made a statement that homelessness is not a reflection of individual failure. When you say people are homeless, it is not because they have individually failed, but it is a systemic issue rooted in decades of neglect in critical areas like affordable housing, mental health, and education. That's the position of a man called Carlos Wallace. They were to punish people who were homeless. And anytime they went inside, in town here, every uncompleted building is someone's house. Is it not so? If you just leave the house uncompleted, somebody will just go and put windows. Sometimes without windows. Anytime after this seminar, the finance will remove that somebody's window form. You know? So homelessness is not so much of failure on because of the individual failures. But like Prof said, somebody is the GM of a housing corporation. When I was a youth corper in Bayelsa, 1989, I lived in that house estate. I lived in that house estate. But like Prof said, from that time to now, somebody is the GM, and one house has been built. And then you see landlords come together, maybe developers put property together, and then there's a price. The rent is too high. It was regulated. You must bring it down. At the end of the presentation, you find out that it's not actually the way to go, or that's not really the solution to affordable housing. It's not. Even if you put it, there are so many unintended consequences you see. And that's what we'll discuss about. So briefly, I just talk about this. I'll talk about history of rent control, and then in Bayelsa, is there anything like that? And then success and failures, and then alternatives. Coincidentally, the alternative also built is what Prof has already happened in Singapore. They are not doing rent control in Singapore, and they have affordable housing. So it's not always rent control as a solution. Now, quickly, because we are talking about some people technologies. When you say rent control legislation, that simply means laws made by either military governments or civilian governments. Most commonly, we have about rent control edicts or rent control decrees. In a military government, the head of state will just look at the problem. We will call maybe it's maybe Minister for Justice, just put a proposal to me, and the next day he will list it out and it's called a decree if it's at the federal level. Now, the same thing is done by the military administrators of states. When they do that in the state, it is called an edict. There are no appointments for local governments in the military sector. On the other hand, when it is civilian administration, the House of Assemblies in the state and the National Assembly, they will propose a bill, discuss it to public hearing and all that, and eventually they will come out with an approved version of the bill, an act of the National Assembly. Once it is assented to by the president, it becomes an act of National Assembly. When the state House of Assembly proposes the bill, discusses it, and sends the corrected version, final version to the governor, once it is assented to, it becomes a law in the state. So, rent control legislation covers both military edicts and decrees, and also civilian legislation. So that's just different. So what you see, I use the word edict, I use the word legislation, they are just interchangeable depending on who's making the law. Then beyond that, if we go straight, okay, one point there that is in the military administration, the functions of the legislation and the executive is to decide in one person. One person wakes up, reads the law, and approves it. Meanwhile, in civilian administration, it is separated. And the doctrine is what we all know known as the doctrine of separation of powers. That is why we are supposing, or it is the opinion that the best military or the worst civilian administration is better than the best military government. Because a man will just wake up, and I know many of us remember degree number 4. Somebody just woke up to say, from this period, journalists must not do certain things. No thinking, no scrutiny, no nothing. Okay, today, if we look at the House of Assembly, we know how many members are there, like in Bayelsa State, at least 24 members. You know the provisions, you know the support, the staff, the executives, the lawyers, and everything. And all that money that is spent in maintaining the House of Assembly formally is, and then if you go to the executive, you see the officials as well. In the military administration, all that money is in the hands of just one man. He wakes up and decides who he will give, and that is all. So, rent control, duties, and legislations are attempts we find out that generally there are 3 distinct categories. First is that before independence, there was really nothing like rent control per se. They were more interested in sanitation, urban planning, and all that. But with the emergence of the oil economy and urbanization that started, that is coming down from about the 1970s, they had to introduce rent controls. That is when they set up, like maybe 1976, the rent and residential properties recovery edicts. Yes, edicts in 1976 in Lagos, and they did something similar also in Port Harcourt. Now, those edicts try to regulate how much a landlord should accept for houses, the procedures for recovery of houses, the number of years the number of months that should be given to tenants before you recover possession. So that's what they were all about. Most of those cases were, I don't want to bore you with the details of citing the exact numbers and all that, but most of those cases were not very effective. And the reason is that it was difficult to implement them. There was weakness in implementing them. Then also, there were unintended consequences. The plan was for people to have more access to houses, but because of the 80s, people started withdrawing their houses instead. And then there was very poor maintenance on properties, because if you will tell me the maximum I can collect as rent, and maybe things are very costly, like in present in Nigeria, where the value of spend in the Nigeria maybe is 12,000 or 30,000. So if you believe that you maybe say a 2-bedroom flat or a 1-bedroom flat, you should collect more than 300. How many pounds was spent 300,000 naira? You understand me? So because of those problems, most of the rent control edicts or rent control legislations not work. Specifics about the quality of your housing, specifics about especially the conflict. Most of the time, rent control comes up because tenants at times are forced to leave their premises. And most of the laws always emphasize that there should be no resort to sell them. Like in Lagos, I worked in Lagos for several years. You will be in the house, and they tell you, maybe they tell you the rent is not up to this, and you can't afford it. And rent your house. After some months, you will not see a judgment from the court. You can't even remember when you took it to court. Somebody actually went to answer your name in court. Said, "Are you so president?" He said, "Yes." And there are people in the court premises who guys are distance. I think there is somebody Jack Johnson. "Are you so president?" He said, "Yes." "Why are you not paying rent?" "Please, I don't have money. That will give me some time." "Okay, where can you be?" "Sir, just give me 2 weeks from your age." The judge answered, "Okay, in 2 weeks, I jumped to 2 weeks. You are just at home thinking what is going on." Then the next time they come, you still have not paid. "No, sir, I can't pay. No, please, I need judgment against you. Go there and evacuate the place." And if you are told, they will come with police, show you the judgment, and remove you. But you were never in court. So, because of that, most rent control legislations right now speak specifically about how landlords should recover their houses. So it is now no longer rent control, but it is now called tenancy laws. For example, in Lagos, there's something called the Lagos tenancy law, which is applicable to some particular areas in Lagos. Some areas excluded for some reasons. So generally, that is what rent control laws is all about. Now, going beyond that, in Bayelsa, there has never really been any rent control legislation in Bayelsa State. They have been relying on the River State Recovery of Premises, Residential Premises Law, and then maybe high court rules. If you must give somebody a big notice, you must comply with the high court rules and all that. You know, so if we are talking of a case of rent control legislation by Bayelsa State, as of today, there is still no rent control legislation by Bayelsa State. So whatever we do now will only be new, will be novel. It will be the first time we are doing that. But there's procedure for recovery, and there are laws that insist. To my surprise, I worked because of MTN. I worked in the Delta State for many years. I have some properties there, and a particular tenant was refusing to leave. He would pay the rent, he refused to leave. So I got a lawyer to get him out. And eventually, landlords for quick notice. It's supposed to be the kind of tenancy you have. Let me just put it that way. So for a yearly tenant, we're expected to give 6 months notice. But in a recent, not too recent, but in the Supreme Court judgment, it is now established that if the rent has expired, then you don't need to give the same person whose rent has expired another 6 months. Telling me that you need to. But so in Asaba, we gave the tenant 7 days notice of owner's intention to recover possession. And then we went to court and presented it. And the magistrate said, you did not give this tenant 6 months notice. We said that the Supreme Court first, we don't need to give them. They said that judgment was specific to Lagos in our own interpretation. We could have given the NIESV, but he said that was specific to Lagos. That she wants that tenancy laws are meant to protect tenants so that they are not moved out as need of the landlord. And that is the only essence of affordable housing. Like Paul for saying, you are talking of few houses, but the existing ones are overlooked in a way. So what did the magistrate do? The magistrate approved the outstanding rent for us, but refused that the tenant should leave. Now, when I came to Bayelsa, I found out that Bayelsa practices a bit differently. Bayelsa will see that by the High Court, I think rules, High Court rules, you have to not give what is called a 7 days quick notice first, before you now give another 7 days owner's intention to recover possession. Making 14 days or even more. 7 clear days. So normally if you want like that, before the judge will even listen to it. So there's a lot of discussion or a lot of differences. Okay, so now getting back to the rent control legislations. In Bayelsa State, there has not been any court legislation, and they rely on the courts. They rely on the courts. Notable cases are Ian and John versus Uso. Every excuse of what should for this case. But if you read it, you've explained, Supreme Court has said so many things about the clearly, so that tenants should have a problem, or if property managers should have a problem about their properties. There's also Owo versus Oboli 2020 case. These are the cases that courts in Bayelsa rely on, and many other cases they rely on deciding if somebody should be moved out of his premises. Okay, I'll quickly discuss on the successes and failures of rent control levies. Places like Lagos have had it. The question is, have they succeeded? And the straight question or the straight answer is no, they've not succeeded. And there are many reasons why they've not succeeded. The thing is that, number one, the rent control agents have reduced housing supply. People now convert their houses instead of living it for residential, they will prefer to use it for living commercial. Because in a commercial business, the rent control, they have something to do business, so it does a lot of calculation. So if people keep moving their houses and moving them to commercial, then the housing, residential housing stock is reduced. So that's one reason why they don't really succeeded. Secondly, we also have issues with investments in residential housing. Once you start rent control, investment in residential housing reduces. Nobody wants to put his money where he's not sure we get it back. And so, if I have to build, even a friend was building with 2 bedroom, I think 2 units of 2-bedroom apartment somewhere around the KVM. And by the last time he was last asking me, he has spent about 80 million naira. And if you spend 80 million naira to build just 2 weeks of 2 bedroom, that's excluding the land. They have bought the land since. When you ever get to market, how much should be the rent? So he was not saying that he would prefer if you use this to build like shops. If you put the shop there, the shop you can just say, oh, Now that's 2 bedroom apartments, very level of finishing in Bayelsa, in the 2 million naira. They actually are also 1.5, 2 million, 1.5, 2.5.
Mommy.
So it's not very big. But in any case, in a little shop on the Azure Express, this was quite close to the Azure Express for what you were explaining. The shop said 2.5, and business they are paying, they are not moving back. So rent control reduces investments in residential apartment, and that is counterproductive. A top reason is also there, which is that it creates what's called informal market or black market. And that's very common in the place that Lagos where it was regulated. In the sense that the law says I should not take rent for more than 1 year. And the tenant says, leave law alone. Do the let's do the agreement so that in case they ask me, I'll show them the agreement. Or they will now pay for 3 years. Or you now see some strange fees just coming up that tell them it is furnished apartments. You understand? So they are now there's weak government enforcement. Who goes around to enforce the rent you are saying to the university? When they go there, there's also the issue of corruption. People go there and then at the end of the day, everything is okay. Meanwhile, it is not true that everything is okay. So that's one example. And finally, there's also this allocation of housing stock. Like rent control normally works in government-owned property. Like I think I remember in the place like it was MCPD house estates and all those house estates. There was some level at the beginning, a limit to what you can charge and things like that. Now, the people who managed to get in there, maybe they were just beginning as civil servants. They were on level 9, level 10, just as Prof said. Now they are in level 15, they are still holding the house. So it's a lack of small problem in house navigation. The purpose of rent control is to make it affordable to the generality of citizens. But now it is a few persons who have had access to their properties that will not let them go. Even when they leave, they arrange for their own person to be there. So on the surface, rent control really hasn't worked very well. Now, is there any alternative? As I begin to round up, it is what Prof has already explained a lot. There are better alternatives to rent control lettings, and this has been practiced in Singapore for decades. The Housing and Development Board that Prof talked about was created in 1960, and in a single year, they handled so many properties and built so many houses. Like the policies help Singapore to avoid the common failures of rent control. In the reports of the HDB, when I checked between 1966 and 1970, 1960, the Housing Development Board completed 3,448 units. And then that was like half. And then the other half for the year up to 53,720 units. Now, if one takes 9,220 units, and in a particular year, that was in 1984, they used 79,000 housing units. If you compare to conventional, the report I put together says in the year from 1980 So 1983, they built 47,500. It's believed that they built 47,500 housing for the whole country. When Singapore built 119,000 in 1 year, and then for a 3-year period, the federal authority built only 47,000. So the solution to affordable housing starts with supply. There must be enough houses. And that's what Prof. I'm taking time to explain. I was very happy because in the year 2022, together with the former commissioner for rights and the director of last year, I was coming to a lot of meetings. Okay, my man is there, I can go 50. We were to put together a 200 unit housing, and it was funded by the family homes. Then I was a managing director of Example and Investment Company. And why they approved that of Bauchi so easily, they did not approve our own because they said the cost of building that said the houses for more than 6 million or something. As a 6 million, they are already started innovation. So how can you say you are selling to owners for 6 million? Meanwhile, in Bauchi is because it was so soft. I mean, the land is strong. So once they have the money, the foundation, not fundamentals. I have to call the architect together with you, have to design high-rise, which is what I show you. That's just like 2-3 floors. Since we can't, if you are going to spend that much money doing foundation, buying walls, then you should benefit from going up. You can't do that one and then move it at a normal level. So we did that. And that now grew very high in the cost because of the laws. The enforcement, let me put it that way. I spent almost 3 days not sleeping because the financier told me I have to work out a way where the sales price is not more than 8.5 million for each 2-bedroom flat. So eventually we had to look for way to cut back on like the roads because also the infrastructure, like Prof said. So it's supposed to be a whole community. If you just build the estates, they are not really helped. Nobody will come to live there. So the solution to is not rent control legislation. But if I round up, I want to explain that it transports fact, say government water. Everything is government water, government lights, government road. Ownership. If there is ownership, no. I told them yesterday. You know that waste has gone to Lagos. You see the social media. And I don't see, because I thought in my lifetime, I will not see waste again. And the areas to get on the way to Yabo, at area is headquarters of Lagos. I wanted to climb the bridge, left and right of that bridge, and to get there, speed of waste. I think it's powerful. And what do you see? What type of waste? Irresponsible things. A market woman went to the forest to buy corn, to roast corn, and sell corn, and make a profit of 3,000, and government will spend 50,000. We are not importing to our cities food, we are importing waste. Look at the quantity of what we eat in food people. The orange is soft. Look at the waste component of it. It's not government alone, it's not law. It's, like I said, if people sitting down together and say, how do we create a better tomorrow? How can human beings, as I was going from the airport, I told you that two people carry waste, middle of the time road, express road, not at night. If any human being that has no psychiatric problem, they will throw away that waste in the middle of the night. Not have to do. Somebody brought a sack of waste to the middle of the express road and make sure it's back. That no people remain inside the lab. And you want that nation to make progress. I don't want to say anything wrong with this. The money that government is using to carry waste is not to bring one out. To buy a compactor, somebody wrote corn, and at the end of the day, each of these sheets of corn, if somebody roasted banana on it, and inside it, after moving, each of waste. No government to go and do not how much it costs to carry a load of compactor. The money spent on compactor is not to build food. So it's like it nothing is messy. But we design our life to make it look okay. Things are not okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'm sure Prof has updated to that. We don't want follow-up questions. Look, I asked, no, there's no time. We asked for people to signify, and you did not. I didn't see where you seated. Okay, please, maybe let's write it down. I didn't see that we're out of time. I'm sorry, please. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have exhausted the conversation, but if you have any questions, just write it down and you pass it across to the organizers. I'm sure we will always get back to you. We want to do presentations of plaques, and I will give the mic here to the branch chairman of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. Estate Surveyor and Valuer, right on the NIESV. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and clap for yourselves. You're a very wonderful audience, very participatory, and very cooperative. We appreciate you. We say thank you for your presence and participation. But we want to do the appreciation on an elevated level to a few of the distinguished persons who are here with us this afternoon. let me first of all request that the worthy member of council, especially on Monday, is generally here to do this presentation. Can we celebrate him as his voice? I expected that you will stop clapping until he gets here. Thank you, sir. The first presentation is to none other than Professor Timothy Luli. Please step forward, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity for giving us the knowledge, sharing, teaching us, improving us. I want to thank you for being here, for the time taken, successful in place, for overall sharing this level of knowledge with all of us. These are what is important to you. Appreciation of your contribution to the success of our MCPD cellular as a lead speaker. Thank you so much. Of course, the next is to Estate Surveyor and Barrister Godwin Onyeto. Please step forward, sir. Noble and respected our distinguished members, let me share the secret. Once upon a time, I was working as an office assistant in Lagos. On Balfour streets, Lagos. This man was a property manager. My duty there was to come to the office, clean the office, dust tables, and all that. When he saw me, he took me to his own family office one day and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm waiting for Jan to give me my results." He took me in the forms of the state company that I bought. He bought it. I told that I have never, I will never forget this one because each time and anywhere anything I see you, I know you are. Thank you very much. So we have our plans, and of course, this institution. We gladly present this plaque to you in appreciation of the contribution to the success of our MCPD cellular 2026 and the sub team speaker. Say very thank you. Keep doing what you're doing, and God bless you. Let's appreciate Mr. for helping us with that presentation. May I respectfully request the paramount ruler of Ovo community to please join us to do the next presentation. Can we celebrate our royal highness in the steps forward? The next presentation is to our National MCPD Committee Chairman, Assistant Sir Charles O. Egali, who has been of tremendous support to us. Let me make a confession here. At the time we got the approval, if they were to go by the bureaucracy they set for themselves, even today, the approval will not be out. But he gave the approval in anticipation that we meet all the other conditions, and we did not disappoint him. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. I think I want to be very grateful and thankful to the organizers of this program. No, I'm just very young in this ministry, traditional ministry, coming to be with you in very moment. But this is a lot of hard work that this award is given to you today. And I think everyone at Chamber of us here function. Do the same to have a better Bayelsa and a better South. The great God who have given this people the grace and understanding. I think this great value that is part of the culture is mostly migrated from Europe, better health. So I think you've done very well in that. After coming today, Sir Charles All Guerrero, ABA, we will today. God bless you. Let's celebrate Sir Charles as he walks off the stage with his award. Last but not the least, is His Excellency Pastor Peter Rodfo Ape, who was ably represented here today by the Deputy Chief of Staff. May I humbly request our the Honorable Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, SSOM, Moses Sebo, and ideas, step forward and take this on this year. Thank you, sir. Award to His Excellency Pastor Peter Rodfo, the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa, Association of Young Contribution to Success of our MCPD seminar as distinguished guest of honor. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. NIESV, Right Honorable Bayelsa, and to all the awardees that have received plaques for today. Please let's put our hands together for all. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are almost at the end. We have the vote of thanks and the closing prayer to still take. and we are done. But I have a family that I need to recognize is one of yours, Estate Survey and Patrick. Please let's put our hands together for me. Yeah. You know, when you go for admission and your parents are there and you don't recognize them, when you get home, you will float. The same, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call on the 2026 MCPD Central Planning Committee Chairman, Estate Surveyor and Valuer, Casey Frank Okutu, to step forward for the vote of thanks before we take the closing prayer. I guess every member of this branch will be proud and happy that we have been able to organize another very successful MCPD. First and foremost, Prof might not be aware, this is a state that we and rain are like 5 and 6. And throughout the day, the weather is very clement. I'm not sure it's not going to be, but we are coming, we have made it possible. But ultimately, we want to appreciate God Almighty for giving us clement weather. Then, I don't know whether Mr. Chairman of the National MCPD has ever been present in any other branches MCPD, except its local Abuja branch. And for you to make that time, come all this way to Bayelsa, we want to appreciate you. They have left, but they added color to everything. The deputy governor represented the commissioner for lands and housing, the commissioner for works, the representative of fiscal planning and development authority, and everybody, our federal professionals, youth environment, treasury labs, and all the partners that have gone here. And I'm not forgetting the treasury labs who have added color to this event. Thank you. And as you go back, I'm wishing all of you journey messages back to their respective places. And God bless you. Knowing is public in Canada, MCPD is a yearly thing. The only thing that will change is for us to agree as a brand which dates we are taking. So when we come calling on you next year, please honor us again with your presence. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you very much, Chairman of the Planning Committee. You know, I have noticed this thing. Most times when I go for events, when it gets to vote of thanks, after all my efforts, after everything that I have done, if we have a decision, I will thank the decision. They will thank the DJ, they will thank the cameraman, they will thank everybody, but they always forget the MC. They forget to say thank you, Mr. MC, for a good job. Well done. But since you don't thank me, I want to thank myself. I want to thank myself for doing the fantastic job. They say no matter how high you that falls from the sky, you will still not deserve. And I have done very well. So I am not this afternoon. The thing is that just before we go, you know, looking at the two lectures, there was something that was stated, and I traveled to an event at Anambra. I had to go to Olu, at Boku, and there was this beauty about Nigeria. And I was thinking, I'm coming from the part of the country where everywhere is swampy, see water everywhere. We want to build houses, we need to feel, we need to recreate. Then I get to the point of knowing where for them to be out, they have to this and they have to take out some for them to build houses. It's really, the mix is so crazy that we found ourselves in a country that is so complex and endowed with a lot of resources. And we need to come together to push this nation for like professional extension there. Also, these recommendations are things that are not rocket science. We travel, the beautiful thing about our country is that we are well exposed. We go out to see these things, so replicating them becomes a problem in Nigeria, and we start, tracing it to religious factors. We need to pray, we need to pray. When we have human resources that can handle it, imagine Professor Peter, fantastic lecture. I want to come back, but I remember the essence. Giving another fantastic lecture, if we can put this things, he also mentioned that the number of laws in this country is so much to make the country a better place, but the implementation is a problem. Our laws expired, like he said. We hope that we see a better Nigeria in our lifetime. Please let's go ahead together to ourselves. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you check the program, you will see that we have ticked all the items on the program. But I usually do something at every event. I'm very generous person. So whenever they pay me for events like this, I like to give out the charge cards. So I always send it to MTN subscribers. So if you have your MTN line, I don't work there. That's not the line. So I would like you to take the job details, and it's. Are you ready? Are you ready? Or you have the person with that time? Okay, so 803 869 4081. You know what you do? Just add 0 for in front of the other thing. That is my phone number. In case you want to do a patient, you can just call me. My name is Victor. I will make your event very interesting. Just call me. I am very affordable. I'm expensive because I'm affordable. I was whispered to that our MCPD national chairman, who is the chairman of this session, just and we cannot close the session without, acknowledging him and, celebrating him. So I want to give the mic to the vice chair. Thank you very much. Charles again. Please come to the stage. Okay, I shouldn't forget the other name. Okay. Because this national chairman is a proud Urugu man. And he wants the other to be equity at all times, so that we know that it's our people and our brothers. So, essence of where I'm going to start. Charles, all the name, the behind. You complete like that. Thank you, sir. So, our senior colleague turned 60 a few days back. And as a branch, we decided to just celebrate it as one of the high points of this NCPD. What can I have a question here so we can wrap this what we have here? And let one of the ushers get us the night of the market. Celebrant is requesting that the royal representation is joined in the celebration. They also request that the resource persons, Barrister Oyeba and Professor Lodi, please join in this celebration. And the rest of us shall we all rise and sing Happy Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday. It's not my chance instead of mine. We wish you many happy returns of this day. Long life and prosperity. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. Celebrants are the envelope will come, but not the useful public declare, so that you will not be kidnapped. We'll bring the envelope to your hotel room. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, sir. I want to put our hands together. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations, sir. Definitely you say what? I want to spend some. I want to respect this. When the chairman mentioned to me that he was going to surprise me, I can't tell you what he surprised. Are you going? Say I brought this well, that's the chief of my younger brother. Yes, it was the first time that we used to know. That time when Yeruba was created. But I thank you, this chairman. This birthday is more than one of the children.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to you, and many more years ahead for you, sir. One more time, let's do that together for Estate, Korean Valley, and South Charles. The ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end, but we stand with a prayer. I would like us to close with a prayer. Let's also remember that we'll be taking photos. There will be a photo section
downstairs after the closing prayer. Let me invite Estate of the Son, Yakoa, to come and do the closing prayer for us. Jesus, thank you for how you are taking us from the hello. Father, we pray that you keep us all alive, even as we go back to our different destinations. Keep us strong, keep us blessed, until another gathering, in any form, as essence of yours and ours. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much. This is for yourselves. It's been a fantastic time here at MCPD seminar. We're going to take pictures downstairs. I would like you to go downstairs. We'll take pictures before we leave. I remain Victor Delari. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
That's okay. Anyone, my boss. Thank you. Drink, I won't collect. Once you go, drink, I won't collect. Wait, pode. Uma parte eu tenho que falar. Tá, agora tá. Não, já está bem. Vamos ver se tá.